What's up, guys? It's Raul Espinoza with the Iowa Entrepreneur, and we're going to change it up a little bit today. I'm with Brett with Swordfish Creative here, and he's going to ask me questions about, why I became an entrepreneur, give you a little bit of background on what I do, and, why I started the podcast, and just get you guys to know me a little bit better. I thought it'd be the right way to end the year, with a little bit of background of me. And you guys have been listening to all the entrepreneurs I've been interviewing lately. I figured, you know what? It was actually your idea at first.
Kind of a role reversal for you.
You're like, you know what? People might not know you that started listening and liking your podcast. Maybe you give them background of to why you're even, became an entrepreneur. I thought that was a good idea. So that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump right into it.
Sure.
Kind of like for someone who finds this or watches this or sees this or it gets shared and they see it and they don't know you.
Yep.
Kind of give us a little bit of like how you got to be here, an entrepreneur in Central Iowa.
Yeah, of course.
And a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story and at the same time not very super interesting, but I moved to Iowa because of a beautiful woman, but also there's a lot that went into play. I was in the oil field right after college and just kind of killing myself, didn't like what I was doing, not enjoying it, 80-hour weeks of just being out there getting dirty and trying to always get told what, how many people you should call and all this and try and get all these sales. It was just very stressful, and it was starting to affect our relationship when, because we met in college and we've known each other for a long time from there, and we were doing long distance. So then she came up with the idea of, hey, you should move to Iowa. And I said, no, I've been there once already. I couldn't even say the name Ankeny yet because it was just so weird to me. Long story short, I moved up here and, I said, what the heck? The money's not worth it over there. It's just time to start something new. I'm really young and I can make mistakes and this and that. And I just kind of decided it was the right decision. So I ended up here about 3 years ago. And I came with the illusion that, I have a degree in marketing. So it'll be easy to find a job, So right now I had this cushion of money I saved up for an emergency fund and for the move. And I had planned on already asking her to marry me before I showed up here. So I had that going too. And I felt fine. I'm like, man, this is going to be awesome. And then after the holidays, because I moved in November, after the holidays, I'll find a job and I'll get a job pretty quick, pretty much anywhere. Because, I'm a hard worker. So I thought I can just, as long as I get a job. Well, 8 months later, I still haven't got a job. So after the holidays, my budget was starting to boom, 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 go down. Yeah. We started worrying. I was thinking in my head I was going to get an MBA and go back to school to get my master's degree because I wanted to be, an executive of some sort in a big company. And it just wasn't working out. I was applying I must have done like 50 applications and just never heard back from them. Even like Target, I started going to Target and Scheels and like the more, the chain stores.
Yeah, retail.
Other than Walmart. I knew I didn't want to go to Walmart for some reason. And no one.
Wow.
Not one phone call. Very, very, it bummed me out. Very eye-opening.
Yeah.
And started worrying, started getting a little depressed. And but then I'm like, you know what? Let's not focus on that right now. Let's focus on the education. So then I started studying like crazy and because I wanted to get my master's in business and did the whole 100-hour. They recommend 100 hours of study before your first test and a lot of pre-tests and all this. I did it all. Spent some money on that, on the books and everything. Then the day of the test came and that test kicked my butt.
Wow.
It was literally, it felt like it was designed to make you hyperventilate and the questions got harder and harder and harder. And if you're allowed to skip one and come back. So I skipped a few at first. But then it just kept getting harder. It's like, I don't know what algorithm they use, but you're never getting to at any point where you feel like you're doing good.
Wow.
It was the worst experience of my life. And that's when I knew. I didn't even need to know my grade or what I scored. I knew that was not for me. It just wasn't. And I took that as a sign, from God really, because I felt the worst I've ever felt in my life. And I drove back and of course everyone in the family and her are like, hey, you finally took the test. They already expected great things from the test. And I just told her, hey, I bombed it. I'm pretty sure I bombed it. And sure enough, I got the results a little bit later during the week. And yeah, I bombed it. And I didn't know what to do from there.
Yeah.
I got depressed and didn't know what to do with my life because I moved here and then I started blaming everyone. You know, because when you hit a bottom low like that, you start blaming whatever you
like it's the system.
Yeah, blaming the system and the algorithm, and then started, saying why did I move up here, and like it made her. Hey, I was not, and people that know me, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I'm always really nice, and so it started changing me a little bit. But then one day she just sat down next to me and was like, what do you want to do with your life? Like, what do you love to do? And I know that's so cliche to say, but it really is important because when you are doing something that you love, it truly is like every day is a blessing, and you're so excited to just get up and go and do it. And so I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm always on social media. I'm always, looking at. I loved marketing when I was doing it in college, and I'm always like, playing video games. Just I liked having my own life. She's like, well, own your own business. Maybe try and start something. And at the time, I actually was employed locally now by a coffee house. So, Joel Cox, if you're watching this later, thanks again for the job. He, I realized I needed to look for local businesses to start applying.
Like somewhere you could get FaceTime, not just like, send in an online application and
so
wait.
So if anyone's
and hope.
going through that, I really recommend everyone thinks like Wells Fargo or big business or big retail stores, but honestly, local's where it's at because they don't have the whole log on to the website and apply thing. You get to meet the owner, and you have a way better chance doing something for them there, and it's more fulfilling because you get to become friends with the owner. Typically your employees are happy to be there too.
There's community impact.
It's just and so I got to know a lot of people through that job, which was really cool. And so I had time to start my side gig. Yeah, and that's kind of how it started 2.5 years ago. And I started really seeing that need in Ankeny and wondering what I could do with it. And then I just asked one day, I was like, hey, Joel, what if I help you with your Facebook? And so that's kind of how Alpha Wolf got created and getting to know everybody locally.
Yeah.
And then it just escalated from there. And I got to know the Uptown district of the area a little better. And then the association that kind of was in charge of it, then joined them and then eventually became the director. And it's just been blessing after blessing after that. So I'm really thankful.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
When you were at Porchlight and you were just like starting out and you're like, I'm going to help them with their Facebook. Did that feel overwhelming?
Oh, yeah.
To think about like, because social media is such like an iceberg. Like there's a little bit you see and then there's a giant piece under the water that you don't see.
First off was he thought he had to give me access to his personal Facebook. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. We have to figure it out. So we figured out how to do it. And then once I don't know if you guys that are watching have a business page, but it opens up a plethora of different things. And it's changed ever since, even more now. But you just, it was overwhelming. I didn't know what all the insights were. I didn't know the fact that I just thought if I take a picture of this coffee and post it, all my friends and everyone is going to see it. And then it's going to get great. But the very first post I did got some views and got some likes because they weren't very active at the time. But then it just started declining in it. And then I realized about the algorithm. And then I started realizing about all this stuff that comes into play with business pages and whatnot. So that kind of started bumming me out. I thought I wasn't doing a good job.
Yeah.
But he was like saying how good of a job it was. And like people were like commenting and saying, I love this video or I love this little clip of something. And so then I just realized just keep pushing through and you'll eventually find something that works for them. And I did. And it was fun. And so,
yeah. How much of what you do now is something you had to go out and teach yourself, as opposed to how much someone in college said, like, "Hey, read this book," and da 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 da.
I wish in college I knew that social media marketing was going to be big. I graduated in 2013, so it was already kind of happening.
Yeah,
but not to this scale, and we didn't have courses on that yet. Now they do. Now you can go to college and get a degree that focuses on social media marketing.
Yeah.
But yeah, holy crap. I was up till 3-4 in the morning all the time, just trying to figure out, watching YouTube videos, going to figure out why Snapchat did this and why Instagram does this. And it just, no one really has the answers. Only the businesses do. Only Facebook knows their algorithm. Everything else is just opinion.
Yeah.
People trying to figure it out and reverse engineering it and everything. to this day, I can't tell you the exact way, why your image didn't do so well. And people ask me that. And you could tell them basically certain things that has impacted them. And like Facebook has great tools that tells you, which posts you've done work well.
Mm-hmm.
But you're teaching yourself every day because it changes every day.
Yeah. So you're not only like, as a business owner, trying to like grow your revenue in business, but you have to like behind the scenes do an extensive amount of almost like continuing education.
Yep.
And
really
it's just changing so fast, as I'm guessing, is that it's hard to even keep up.
Yep. It's you just got to make sure that you set aside the time to do the research. If you get complacent, the week that you get complacent, you're already behind. And that's something that people might not know. That it works this way. They might just think I can do social media, it's no big deal. But then they try and do it consistently for, the 2.5 years that I've done, and people do it, and that's why they're successful. But some businesses, the owners can't keep up. That's why I found out that there was so much need out there for that. And it's just great to meet with them, and then they get a sigh of relief that, that it can be done by someone who's willing to really learn about their business and be passionate about it. Maybe not as much as they are because it's their business. It's not, but I go into it with those eyes that, like, if it was mine, what I would do, and look at the best, what's the best thing I can do for them always. 100%.
When you were, when did you start to realize that, like, the need, especially in like the uptown context that you're heavily involved in? When was that kind of first coming to realization, and you were like, okay, this is, going to go from like a side gig to like, I'm going to make this my thing? Because that's a big jump for a lot of entrepreneurs. How did you handle that?
It was terrifying. I knew that, I think within the first 4 months, I was already getting reached out by local businesses, and I didn't want to do it yet. I was like, already, like the thought of the stress of having to accidentally post something that I tried to do on my personal, aside from Porch Light or someone, I was just like terrified. I'm like always on the edge of wondering, now I have it all kind of figured out. But back then it was like, I have this business that I haven't been in yet, reach out. And, it was almost like turning people down at first. But at the same time, I knew that I loved to do it and I wanted to learn. So, it took a lot for that owner to give me that trust, and then for me to be willing to work hard for them. And so after 1.5 years working at Porch Light, I set a date, I think 2 or 3 months out, and I told Joel about, my dream coming up, that I realized this is what I might be meant to do, at least for now, because, it could change in the future. So he was just like, that's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, and he was willing to work with me even after. He's like, if you need anything, you can come and work random hours, but he's like, I think this is the step you need to take. And he was a good mentor.
That's cool to have someone to do that you felt like was supportive and like was kind of able to launch you.
Yeah.
Rather than feeling like, oh, well,
It was super scary because, we just gotten married. We were going to get married. And that was that same month I decided.
Oh, wow.
That I was going to leave Porch Light and just do this full time, because I was starting to get more involved in Uptown, and they had considered me to be in the director position. So I was like, to give that 100% on all of these 3 aspects, it was just going to be harder. So I'm like, I got to leave Porch Light, but I'm there every day and I help them, I come get their coffee and everything. And it's exciting to see their growth, but it was the right move at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a terrifying move. And her dad, and my dad were like, you're going to have to support this woman, I kind of talk, but at the same time, everyone kind of trusted me, and they had, I had faith, and they had faith in me.
That's cool.
And it kind of worked out. The day that I had set a couple months before, it happened. I mean, I left that day.
Yeah.
And then I had all this time I'm like, wow, I have absolutely no meetings or anything yet. So what do I do? So then I just started soaking in all the knowledge I could.
Yeah.
The very same day I left.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great story of like the community supporting people.
Yeah.
Even like in Joel's case, one of his employees, you leaving, he's going to have to go find someone else. It's going to like hurt him in a sense.
Because I was working as much hours there as I could.
His willingness just to say, you know what, I think this is best for you, so I'm going to support you. That's a great story of
he didn't even hesitate.
The community and how they, gather around people and say, we care about these people.
Yeah. And that's why I love
above all else.
That's why I love local business, because it's, and there's big business and corporate business that some of them do truly care about their employees, but for some reason local, it's like the owner does really have your best interest in mind.
Yeah, and I think
so that was very apparent.
Yeah, I think that's just in Ankeny, whether it's like local business, single location, local franchise. Like I've just met so many people that they just care about the people around them first. And that, whatever they can do to help is really cool. So if you're thinking about local businesses that are in kind of what you felt when you were first looking into social media, like how can anyone keep up with this?
Yeah.
What's one thing you'd say to them just as a step they could take in 2020?
To business owners?
Yeah. Like if they, they're like, well, I can't really bring someone on for social media, but I know I need to do a better job. What's one thing they could do, one step they could take in 2020 to see, better results?
Well, the number one thing I would say that I always tell my clients is consistency, even if it's one a week. Like, for example, the podcast, I only do it once a week, but it takes a lot of work in the background, and you know that.
Yeah.
So it's just as simple, too, of not thinking of what others are saying or are going to think prior to posting the content. So to me, content is content as long as there's heart.
Don't get too in your head about it.
Don't get too in your head. If it was blurry, don't delete it. I've had clients who, it's a little blurry, I'm going to delete it. And they delete it, and they put a lot of good content on there as far as what they said and what, where they were. They can't go back and revisit that because they've already left the location or they already went live with whoever business they went with. Just leave it because the value is there for others. So even if you're posting once a week, or don't get all spontaneous with it, because that's when you eventually, kind of like training or something. You just end up leaving it. And also if you start doing it and you do it for a month or two and you see no results, it takes a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
You keep going.
Perseverance.
Yeah, because it will eventually, you'll get that one person that says, hey, I found you because I saw one of your Facebook ads, or hey, you posted an Instagram story the other day, and my wife follows you and she showed me, and I thought that was really cool. So that's why I came today. Yeah. That one little story, you may have posted 200 stories throughout the year before that, but that one mattered.
Yeah.
So that's what I would tell them in 2020. Don't focus too much on the content. Just do it.
Yeah.
And try and be consistent.
It seems like social media is like almost moved, especially with so much content being out there.
Oh yeah.
That it's just
so much
the content
noise.
is just like seeds.
Yep.
And it's just like, just keep scattering them, keep planting them.
Yep.
And they may seem small, one time a week for 3 months.
Yeah.
May seem like a small thing, but you don't know in a year and 2 years and 3 years what kind of plant that blossoms into.
Of course. Same thing goes with like the numbers. Don't worry so much about the numbers, because there's a ton of clients now that worry about, the views, the likes, all the, cosmetic stuff. Don't worry about it, because it might be a way to correlate your numbers and success to a certain extent, but, over time, it's going to get more likes. It's going to get more views. The numbers don't dictate how successful your business is,
Because it could even just be one person. If you're able to make a post that one person sees and is impacted. And I think that's one thing that I've learned, working with people locally, is that impact is not always means making a sale.
Of course.
Maybe it's a post that impacts someone that they never talked to you, but they were impacted by it and it changed something about how they live, or,
that one message could be something that changed someone's decision of a life decision, or, you could have prevented someone from,
kind of
suicide
a
or something.
redefinition of success, that it goes beyond just like, well, did I make money from that post?
Yeah. Don't think of it. I would say, don't worry about that, because it just will happen if you're, like I said, if you really put the heart in and consistent with it. Numbers aren't really important. And it's just hard for someone who's very analytical or just wants to see the hard numbers. It's very hard for them to see that.
Yeah. But the ROI, what do they call it now? ROA, return on ad spend, all those things.
They want to also know the click-through rate, the amount of time that the completion rate on videos and all this stuff. That
those aren't bad.
They're not bad.
They're not the whole.
Focusing too much on it is bad.
Okay. Yeah.
Because then you end up getting lost in all the numbers, and then you won't even know what a good number is at that point later on. because you're so confused with all the numbers.
Yeah.
So,
that's really good.
That's one thing that people worry about.
So, 2 more questions.
Sure.
First one is, what's something that is a goal for you in 2020? It could be personally, it could be business wise. Like, one thing you want to see happen in 2020?
One thing I do want to see happen in 2020 is more, even smaller local businesses pushing themselves to be out there and not, social media, they're like, keep pushing away, but maybe welcome it. I want to see more local businesses sort of go mini viral in Ankeny because it's growing so much. And, another goal would be to make this impact through the podcast for people who aren't business owners, to really truly appreciate local business.
Or maybe people who are in that spot you were in at Porchlight,
exactly.
where they're like,
it could be life-changing.
I want to make this jump, but I don't know if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just like Joel, was a launch pad for you. Maybe you could create an environment that could be a launch pad for someone else.
Yep.
Kind of paying it forward.
Yeah. A really important thing when you're going through all of that process is having a mentor. And if you don't have one, you can just hop online and just start following, people that influence you. So for the podcast to be an impact and see that somehow is a goal.
Awesome.
Well,
so last question. You usually ask everyone else this, but I'm going to ask you.
Yep.
What does it mean to you to be an entrepreneur?
For me, it is weird now being on this side to think that, but I believe that success, no matter how you view it, is really an important part because you're pushing yourself. So an entrepreneur, to me, you are finding a need, whether it's a local business's need or a person, and finding methods that help solve the problem. But also it benefits you in a way, but do it with your heart and don't expect things in return. So do things, go seek problems for people and help them solve those problems through their business or through their passion, if you will, but don't expect things in return.
Yeah, that's really good. If everyone took that posture, we'd have much more of a
and
radical generosity society.
You need to have bread on the table and survive and all that. But for some reason, I'm a strong believer in that it just works out. Somehow.
Yeah.
So if you really focus on people and helping them without expecting anything in return, it works out.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
all right. Well, usually you're asking people these questions, but hopefully this lets people a little, little bit more, lets people know a little bit more.
Yep. Gives them a little glimpse of who I am.
Who Raul is behind this podcast.
Yep. Well, thanks, Brett, for doing this for me.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Later.